Hello, children of God! Welcome to Thank You English Story Time. Today, I'll read Jacob Returned Home. In the last book, we read that Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, and Jacob deceived his dad, Isaac, and was blessed. As I said, let me tell you what happened to Jacob and Esau after that. Let's go into the story. Jacob ran away from his brother. When Esau realized that Jacob was blessed, he got so angry that he planned to kill Jacob. So Jacob ran away from Esau. Can you see Rebecca, his mom, saying goodbye to him? Where is he running to? Then he fell asleep on the street. While running away, he stopped for the night. It was getting dark. He took one of the stones there and put it under his head. Then he lay down to sleep. He fell asleep. You will return home, God promised in a dream. In a dream, he saw a stairway reaching to heaven. The angels of God were going up and coming down on it. God said, I am God. I am with you. You will return home. He stayed with Uncle Laban. Then Jacob set off again on his journey and arrived in Haran to stay with Uncle Laban. It means that Laban was his mother, Rebecca's brother. Laban had two daughters. He had two daughters. The older one was Leah, and the younger one was Rahel, who was beautiful. Uncle, give me Rahel, said Jacob. Jacob fell in love with Rahel. He said to Laban, give me your younger daughter, Rahel. I will work for you for 7 years. If you work for me, I will give her to you, Laban said. Stay here and work for 7 years. Then I will give my daughter, Rahel, to you. However, he should have married the older daughter, Leah, first. So he had to work for another 7 years to marry Rahel. Jacob married his uncle's daughters. Finally, he married Rahel. He married Leah and Rahel, both of his uncle's daughters. He loved Rahel more than he loved Leah. And he became rich because God was with him. Jacob became the father of many children and also the owner of large flocks. Look at him with his many children and lambs. I must go home now. One day, Jacob spoke to Laban. I want to go back to my home with my wives and children. You know how much work I have done for you. Going through twists and turns, he left Laban with his family. But Jacob feared Esau. On his way to Canaan, Jacob feared his brother Esau, who was angry with him. So he sent people to his brother. Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau. He told the messengers to please Esau with his animals and servants. They said, your brother is coming with 400 men. The messengers came back to Jacob and said, Esau is coming now to meet you. He has 400 men with him. God, please keep us safe, Jacob prayed. Jacob was very worried and afraid of his brother. He prayed to God, God, you have been very kind and faithful to me. Please save me and my family from the hand of Esau. I'm afraid that he will come and attack me and my family. Esau welcomed Jacob happily. At last, Jacob met Esau. They hugged and cried for joy. How touching is the brothers' reunion! As God promised, Jacob returned home. God had said, I am God. I am with you. You will return home. He kept his promise with things he could not have imagined. I'm happy that Jacob reunited with Esau and returned home. Do you have siblings? Do you have brothers and sisters? If yes, have you ever hated each other? Through the story of Jacob and Esau, I hope that you will have time to understand and love each other like them. Also, keep in mind that God always keeps His promises. If you want to hear more about God keeping His promises through dreams, don't forget to watch the next one. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.
Thank you, English.
Hello, children of God! Welcome to Thank You English Story Time. Today, I'm going to read Joseph the Dreamer. Do you know Joseph? He is one of the most respected people in the Bible. I also respect him. I will cover several books about Joseph. You'll see how God worked throughout his life. By the way, before going into the story, I have a question. Why are the sun, the moon, and stars bowing down to Joseph? Let's go into the story. Jacob had 12 sons. Wow, Jacob is with lots of sons. How many are they? Let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wow, so many sons. Jacob loved Joseph the most. Who is Joseph here in the picture? He is the one wearing a colorful robe. He was the second youngest son of Jacob. He was the only one who wore the fancy robe because Jacob loved Joseph more than other sons. Joseph had a lot of dreams. Joseph talked about his dream. First dream, he said, was Joseph's bundle of grain suddenly stood up straight, and the brothers' bundles gathered around his bundle and bowed down to it. In my dream, the sun, the moon, and stars bowed down to me. This was about another dream he had. This time, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed down to him. Joseph talked about his strange dreams to his father and brothers. Are you saying we should bow to you? When the brothers listened to Joseph's dream, they were jealous of him. They said, Hey Joseph, should we bow down to you? Do you want to be king over us? The brothers didn't feel good. Brothers hated Joseph even more. They hated Joseph even more because of his strange dreams. Joseph, go see if your brothers and sheep are well. One day, Joseph's brothers were taking care of sheep. Joseph was with his father at home. Jacob said, Go to your brothers and see how the brothers and sheep are doing. Then come back and tell me. Yes, father, Joseph replied. Yes, father, he set off to find his brothers wearing the colorful robe. He listened to his father very well. I hope you do too. The brothers saw Joseph coming from afar and said, They saw him coming a long way off. Before he came closer to them, they made a bad plan. A bad plan? What was it? Let's throw Joseph into the pit. Oh no! It was the plan to kill Joseph. They planned to throw him into the empty pit in the desert. Joseph would not have any food and water in the pit. Oh, brothers, please don't do that. And say that he was eaten by a beast. But they didn't change their mind. They tried to make Joseph in trouble and say that he was eaten by a wild animal to his father. Jacob was very sad, thinking that Joseph was dead. The brothers had taken Joseph's beautiful robe and showed it to Jacob. Jacob was very sad because it was Joseph's robe indeed, and he thought Joseph was dead. Oh, poor Joseph. He was abandoned by his brothers. No matter how jealous the brothers were with Joseph, they shouldn't have acted like that. By the way, was Joseph really dead? Well, God wouldn't have let him die like this. Let's continue reading the story of Joseph. Don't forget to watch the next one. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.
Thank you, English.
Hello, children of God! Welcome to Thank You English Story Time. Today, I'm going to read Joseph Came to Rule Egypt. What? Joseph came to rule Egypt? Wasn't he dead because of his brothers? This book says he was not dead. Look at Joseph, who's working hard in the book. I can't wait to see what happened to Joseph. Let's go into the story. In fact, brothers sold Joseph to sellers. Aha! The brothers didn't throw Joseph in the pit, but sold him to sellers and got silver. Where is Joseph going? He must have been very scared. The sellers sold him back to another house. He arrived in Egypt and was sold again as a slave. Joseph worked very well. He worked hard for his master. He was successful in everything he did because God was with Joseph. But he went to jail unfairly. However, his master misunderstood him and sent him to jail. It was unfair. The king's servants were also put in jail. He was put in jail with the king's servants. They said, "We both had a dream last night." The two men in jail had dreams the same night. One said he took the grapes on 3 branches and squeezed them into king's cup. The other said the birds ate bread in 3 baskets on his head, which was for king. Joseph told what their dreams were about. Joseph explained what their dreams were about. First dream meant, in 3 days, king would give your job back to you. However, the second dream meant he would die in 3 days. Everything happened just as Joseph had told them about their dreams. One day, the king of Egypt had a dream. The king of Egypt had a dream. In his dream, 7 healthy cows were eating grass. After them, 7 other ugly skinny cows ate up the healthy fat cows. Again, he had a similar dream. 7 healthy heads of grain were swallowed up by 7 other thin heads of grain. I know a man named Joseph who tells dreams well. When no one could tell him what his dreams were about, his servant who had been in jail remembered Joseph. He said, "Joseph can tell you what your dreams meant." "Bring him to me," said the king. The king wanted to see Joseph. I wonder if Joseph could tell the king about what his dreams meant. "You have the wisdom of God." Of course, he knew what the dreams were about. He said, "God showed you 7 years with plenty of food and next 7 years without food in your dreams." Also, Joseph told him what to do. The king of Egypt was glad to have Joseph who was with God. The king made Joseph rule over Egypt. The king admired Joseph's wisdom. He made all his people obey Joseph's orders. Can you believe that Joseph, who was misunderstood and was in jail, came to rule over Egypt? It's unbelievable, isn't it? But it just happened to Joseph because God, who can do everything, was with him. Are you curious of how God worked through Joseph's life after this? Don't forget to watch the next one. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.
Thank you, English.
Hello, children of God. Welcome to Thank You English Story Time. Today, I'll read Joseph Forgave Brothers. Is it true? The previous book says his brothers sold Joseph and he became a slave. Even though Joseph was successful in Egypt, how could he forgive the brothers? If I were Joseph, I would not forgive the brothers. Let's go into the story. God was with Joseph all the time. After Joseph started to rule over Egypt, God was with him all the time. All the time, God was with Joseph. There was no food all over the land. As God said in the king's dream, there was no food all over the land for 7 years. Can you hear the man's stomach rumbling? People were starving. But Egypt had a lot of food. But there was enough food in the whole land of Egypt. This was because Joseph had wisdom of God. Joseph's brothers came to Egypt to get some food. Jacob heard that Egypt had enough food, so he sent his sons to Egypt to buy some food. But he didn't send Benjamin. That's why he's standing by Jacob in the book while the brothers were leaving. They did not remember Joseph. Joseph was the one who sold food. When the brothers arrived, they bowed down to him. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them. However, they did not remember Joseph at all. Oh, children, does this scene remind you of something? Yes, Joseph's dreams. The moon, the sun, the stars, and the grains bowed to him. It happened just like his dreams. I am Joseph whom you sold. Joseph burst into crying and said, I am Joseph whom you sold. I am your brother. They were too afraid of him to answer anything. But don't be afraid. God sent me here. Joseph kindly said to his brothers, Don't be afraid. Come close to me. It wasn't you who sent me here. It was God. They came back home and said, the brothers came back home with the cards and gifts that Joseph had given and told everything to their father. Father, Joseph is alive! Joseph is still alive! In fact, he is ruler of Egypt! Jacob was shocked. Is that true? Let's go see him. He didn't believe them. He wanted to see his son Joseph before he died. Joseph met his father and cried for a long time. As soon as Joseph met his father, he hugged him and cried for a long time. And he lived happily with his family again. Joseph helped his family make their homes in Egypt and gave enough food. They lived happily again. Joseph saved his whole family. Not only his family, also he saved many lives because God was always with him. He was a kind son, a great ruler, and a faithful God's servant. The Bible says, commit to the Lord everything you do, then He'll make your plan succeed. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 3. As the Bible said, Joseph committed everything to God. Then he made his plan succeed. Therefore, he is one of the most respectable people in the Bible all over the world. Don't forget to watch the next one. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.
Thank you, English.
Hello, children of God. Welcome to Thank You English Story Time. Today, I'm going to talk about Moses, the Prince of Egypt. Look at this little baby in the basket. He looks so cute. He must be Moses. But why is this little baby in a basket floating on the river? It looks dangerous. Also, I can see two women watching over the baby. They look worried just like me. Will he be okay? Let's go into the story. Joseph's family became very big. Joseph and all his brothers had many children. It was such a big family. There were so many people that they filled the land. They were called the Israel people. Do you remember Jacob? He is Joseph's father. God had named Jacob Israel, so his family was called the Israel people or the Israelites. The new king of Egypt hated them. A new king came to power in Egypt, where the Israel people were living. When he saw how many Israelites there were, he became afraid of their power and hated them. The king ordered, "Kill the baby boys of Israel." The king ordered to kill all the baby boys of Israel. He only let the girls leave because he didn't want the Israel people to become more numerous and stronger. At this time, Moses was born. When the baby boys were killed by the Egyptians, a woman gave birth to a baby boy. He was Moses. She hid Moses away from the Egyptians for 3 months. His mother hid Moses in the basket and sent him along the river. But as Moses grew older, she couldn't hide him any longer. So she got a basket and placed Moses in the basket. Then she sent him along the river. His sister kept watching over him because she wanted to see what would happen to him. His mom and sister must have been very sad. Just in time, the princess of Egypt found the baby. The princess of Egypt, who is the daughter of the king, went down to the river to take a bath. Right then, she found the baby in the basket. He was crying. She felt sorry for him. "I will make this baby my son," she said. "I will make this baby my son." Wow! Something really amazing just happened. The baby's sister, who had been watching over him, saw this. Can you see the sister smiling behind the bushes? What a relief! Moses grew up as a prince. Moses grew up as a prince in Egypt. Moses, who was a cute little baby, became a prince. One day, Moses saw an Egyptian hitting an Israelite man. One day, he went out and saw an Egyptian hitting an Israelite man. The man was one of Moses' own people. So he killed the Egyptian and ran away to the land of Midian. Moses killed the Egyptian who was hitting an Israelite man. The next day, he became afraid because his people knew he had killed Egyptian. So he ran away to the land of Midian. Many years passed and God made Moses the leader of Israel. After a long time passed and Moses went through many things, he became the leader of Israel. A little baby who nearly died became the prince of Egypt and later the leader of Israel. This would never have happened if God had not been with Moses. Like this, God is always with each one of us. If you want to know more about God's work through Moses, don't forget to watch the next one. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.
Thank you, English.
Hello, children of God! Welcome to Thank You English Story Time. Today, I'll show Bad Egyptian King. Look at the book. I see a king, magicians, and snakes. What is it all about? Is it about a magic show for the king? Let's go into the story. Moses met the king of Egypt and said, "Do you remember Moses? When he was born, the Egyptian king ordered all the baby boys to be killed. Therefore, his mom put him in a basket and sent him along the river. Who found him? Yes, the Egyptian princess found him. Later, Moses became the leader of Israel. He met the king of Egypt to say something. He went to the king with Aaron. God wants you to let the Israel people go. Moses said, God wants you to let the Israel people go. Moses exactly told what God had said. Let the Israel people go so that they honor me in the desert. What did the king reply? I can't do that, said the king. The king said, who is God? Why should I listen to him? Why should I let the Israel people go? I won't let them go. He would have snorted and said no to them. Show me a sign if what you say is true. He also said, show me a sign if what you say is true. He wanted to see a miracle. What kind of miracle did Moses do? Moses turned the staff into a snake. Before the king said to do a miracle, God told Moses to take the staff and throw it down in front of the king. Can you see the staff in Aaron's hand, who stood right next to Moses? he did exactly as God had said. When he threw the staff in front of the king, it turned into a snake. But magicians of Egypt did the same. However, the Egyptian magicians who did the evil magic did the same thing. Each one threw down the staff. Each staff turned into a snake, but Aaron's snake swallowed up the snakes. The king did not listen to God. Even though the king saw God's power, he did not listen to God. He was too stubborn to let the Israel people go. God sent many frogs, flies, and locusts to Egypt. Then God sent 10 disasters to Egypt. He sent frogs covering the whole country, flies all over Egypt, and locusts that swallowed up every crop and all the fruits of the trees. Look at this horrible thing happen in Egypt. Then did the king listen to God? He also sent big hails. Uh-oh, the king didn't listen to God. What a bad king. God also sent big fiery hails falling on all the people and animals. Hail fell and lightning flashed back and forth. It was the worst storm. Then, did the king finally listen to God? Moses warned the king. Oh no, what a bad, stubborn king. He still didn't listen to God. God showed his power to the king, but he didn't let the Israel people go out of his country. Moses warned the king with the last and worst disaster. If you don't let us go, all your first sons will die. Moses warned, if you don't let the Israel people go, all your first sons will die. The first son of every family and animal will die, except among God's people. It is such a terrible disaster. Then did the king listen to God? When night came, there was a great cry in Egypt. Unfortunately, he didn't. At midnight, the first sons and animals died. Even the first son of the king was dead too. There was loud crying in Egypt because someone had died in every home. What if the Egyptian king had obeyed God's power from the beginning and let the Israel people go? What if God had changed the heart of the Egyptian king? I can't stop asking these questions, and I am very curious what would happen after the last disaster. The next story will tell you. Don't forget to watch the next one. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.
Thank you, English.
Hello, children of God! Welcome to Thank You English Story Time. Today, I'll continue Israel Crossed the Red Sea. As the title of the book shows, the Israel people finally came out of Egypt. Were there only good and happy things for them? What happened to the Israel people after they left Egypt? Let's go into the story. The king's first son also died. As I mentioned in the previous book, the first son of the king also died. He must have regretted his bad decision. He called Moses and his brother and said, finally, he called Moses and his brother Aaron. He decided to say something. Take your people and leave. Take the Israel people and leave Egypt. The king eventually let the Israel people go. God took them into the desert. As soon as the king set them free, God led the people through the desert and led them by cloud at day and fire at night. By day, God went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud. It guided them on their way. At night, God led them with a pillar of fire. It gave them light, so they could travel by day or at night. God led them to the Red Sea. Let's go after Israel! The king changed his mind. However, the king who let the Israel people go changed his mind. He took his army and chariots to chase after the Israel people. God made him stubborn again. There was a sea in front of the Israel people. The Israel people were scared because of the Egyptian army approaching behind them and a sea in front of them. They didn't know what to do but cried out in fear. The sea split all night long, but Moses trusted God who protected them by day and at night. God let Moses hold his staff high and reach out his hand over the Red Sea to divide the water. When he did as God said, the sea split all night long. The Israel people crossed the sea. Then the people could go through the sea on dry ground. They crossed the Red Sea. Let's cross! The Egyptian army followed. The Egyptian army tried to chase after them. When they tried to cross the sea, God made the chariots hard to drive and the sea go back to its place. What happened then? But they all died in the sea. The Egyptian army was swept away and died in the sea. The sea covered the entire army who had been following the Israel people. No one survived. Israel praised God. God set the Israel people again from the power of Egypt. They saw the amazing power that God showed against the Egyptians. They praised God and put their trust in Him and Moses. God always protected the Israel people. Even when they didn't know where to go, what to do, their leader Moses trusted God and saved his people. Seeing how one great leader can save so many people, I want you to become great leaders like Moses in the future. To be a great leader like Moses, don't forget to watch the next one. I'll tell you more. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.
Thank you, English.
Hello, children of God! Welcome to Thank You English Story Time. Today, I'll be reading The Bread from Heaven. The bread from heaven? Does it mean that the bread falls from heaven like rain or snow? It would be amazing! The book shows many quails in the desert. What's going on? Let's go into the story. Israel was crossing the desert. After the Israelites came out of Egypt, Moses led them to the desert of Shur. Can you see Moses holding a stick at the head of the people? They were crossing the desert. Where is the water? Because they were in the desert, they couldn't find any fresh water for 3 days. They were so thirsty. Children, imagine that you cannot drink water for even a day. You might be angry because you are so thirsty. People were angry at Moses. When they came to a place with water, the water was too bitter to drink. They started grumbling. They were not happy with Moses. Moses prayed to God. When Moses cried out to God, He showed him a stick. God gave the people water to drink. Moses threw the stick into the water, which was too bitter to drink. Immediately, the water became fit to drink. People could drink water thanks to God. Moses, we are hungry. The whole Israelites came to the desert of Sin. This time, there was no food. They became very, very hungry. Are you trying to kill us? They were angry again. Again, they started grumbling. They thought Moses had brought them out into this desert to die of hunger. They blamed Moses for putting them in a more difficult situation. They even missed their lives in Egypt. God heard this and said to Moses, God heard their complaints and spoke to Moses. I have heard the people of Israel talking about how angry they are. They will eat meat for dinner. In the evening, when the sun goes down, the people will eat meat. Aha! God gave these many quails for their dinner. And they will eat bread in the morning. In the morning, they will eat bread. Wow! God indeed rained down bread from heaven for the people. Then they will know that I am God. Then they will know that I am the Lord your God, who gives everything they need. God took care of the Israel people. Every evening, God gave a large flock of quails. Then the people caught and ate them. Every morning, God gave bread called manna. Then the people gathered and ate them. God took good care of them every day and night. God took care of the Israel people, giving them water, quail, and bread. God did not only take care of the Israel people in the desert, but still knows our needs and takes good care of us. Do you also feel God's love and care every moment? Then don't forget to watch the next one. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.
Thank you, English.
Hello, children of God! Welcome to Thank You English Story Time. Today, I'll tell you the story, God's Law. Law is a set of rules that we must keep. While Moses and his people were having a hard time crossing the desert, God helped them every time and gave them what they need. In this story, God gave them His law. Let's go into the story. The mountain was full of smoke. One day, there was thunder and lightning. A thick cloud covered the mountain. Smoke covered the mountain. It was Mount Sinai. God came down in the fire. God came down on the mountain in fire. The smoke rose up. He told Moses to come to the top of the mountain. When God came down to the top of the Mount Sinai, He told Moses to come to the top. So Moses went up. Moses went up to meet God. God wrote the law on the stone and said, on the 2 pieces of stone, the law was written by the finger of God. You must keep this law. You must keep this law. If not, you'll die. Can you see the 10 laws written on the book? This is what we call 10 Commandments. The people who watched from afar sat in fear. The people who saw the thunder and lightning and the mountain covered with smoke were afraid and stayed a long way off. Moses, you tell us. Moses, you speak to us, then we will listen. Never serve other gods. Moses told the first law. Never serve other gods. Put God first. Moses told them other laws too. He told them other laws. The laws about showing love and respect for God and for others. What laws do you remember? The second law. Worship only God. What about the fifth law? Obey your father and your mother. The ninth law. Always tell the truth. Then the people said, we will keep the words we heard. We will do everything God has said, they said. In this way, Israel became God's people. The people of Israel had respect for him. God kept them from doing bad things. They became God's people. Why don't you take a look at God's 10 laws or commandments in the Bible? It will help you to please God and keep yourself from doing bad things. God will give you power and wisdom to keep these laws. Don't forget to watch the next one. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.
Thank you, English.
Hello, children of God! Welcome to Thank You English Story Time. Today, I'll read the new leader of Israel. Moses became too old to lead the Israelites. God told Moses about who would be the next leader of Israel. So today, we'll see who the new leader of Israel was and what promises God made with him. Let's go into the story. Israel did not keep the promise of God. Even though God told the Israelites his promise through Moses, the people of Israel did not keep it. They disobeyed God and served other gods. Look at the people worshiping a golden calf. This is very sad, isn't it? So they lived in the desert for 40 years. God had already known that Israel would break the promise of God. He let them live in the desert for 40 years. There they learned how to follow God. They learned that they should turn away from the other gods and return to God. It's time to go to the promised land. God told Moses it's time to go across the Jordan River and enter the promised land. Set up a new leader, God said to Moses. But he would not let Moses go across the Jordan River, but God himself would go across ahead of the people. And the new leader would also go across ahead of them. Who would be the new leader? Joshua became a new leader. Joshua became the new leader of Israel. Joshua, I'll be with you. God said to him, Joshua, I'll be with you. I will never leave you. I will bring Israel into the promised land. I will go ahead of you and bring Israel into the land I had promised to give. So don't be afraid, be strong and brave. God promised Joshua. God promised Joshua to be always with him. Israel was all ready. Israel was all ready to enter the promised land with the new leader, Joshua. But Moses was old and returned to God. Moses died when he was 120 years old. He died in Moab just as God had said. People were very sad. The Israelites mourned over Moses in Moab for 30 days. Israel has never had a leader like Moses. They were very sad to lose their great leader, Moses. The Israelites admired Moses truly because he obeyed God and did many amazing things. He placed his hands on Joshua, so the Israelites listened to Joshua. He also did amazing things afterward. If you want to know what Joshua did, don't forget to watch the next one. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.
Thank you, English.